Hi, this is Steven with Musicians Mobile. Today I'm going to talk about 7 things to consider when purchasing your first guitar. The first thing we're going to talk about is what is the best type of guitar to learn on in the beginning. And this is kind of a debated topic, and you might get different answers from different teachers. But for me, and this is a common theme throughout this video, for me it's always going to be what is the type of guitar that is going to spark the interest of the student, keep them practicing, keep them playing, keep them improving right from the start. I'm going to go over the 3 types of guitars with you here and give you some pros and cons on them as far as how easy or hard they are to play for the beginner. The first type of guitar right here is the nylon string guitar. This guitar has a couple things about it. The nice thing about this guitar is that it's soft on the fingers. The strings are made out of nylon, so they're easier to push down. They cause the least amount of discomfort for the initial stages of playing. The con on this one, which I think is a pretty big factor, the width of the guitar neck is quite big. So when you're talking about the guitar neck, this is the head of the guitar, this is the neck of the guitar, this is the body of the guitar. The width of the neck, if it's too big, which it is big on the nylon string guitars, it can make it difficult for the student to reach their chord shapes and get going on kind of the basic fundamental things on guitar. So we don't want things to be difficult in that factor. So that's something to really consider when getting your first guitar. The second guitar we have here is the steel string acoustic guitar. It's pretty much the exact opposite of the nylon string guitar that we just looked at. This one, it has a decent size neck width on it, so it's not going to be too hard to make those chord shapes at first. But the strings are really rough on the fingers. Out of the 3 types of guitars, they're definitely the hardest to play, hardest to make sound good. The third type of guitar is the electric guitar, which in my opinion is kind of the best choice for a beginner. They're not as easy on the fingers as the nylon string, but it's much easier on the fingers than the steel string guitar. It requires less strength. It's going to be, it'll take less getting used to than the acoustic steel string guitar. And also it has a nice thin neck as well. So you're going to be able to play those chord shapes nice and easy right from the beginning. So like I said, in my opinion, I'm leaning towards the electric guitar on that. The second thing we're going to go over is what type of music is this guitar generally going to be used for. Now, the guitar is a super versatile instrument. It can be used in pretty much any type of music. Guitar will fit in somewhere. I'm going to go back through the 3 types of guitars here. I'm going to kind of tell you what each one is good for. But first, I'm going to tell you, if your student likes a certain type of music, make sure that they get the type of guitar that fits the type of music that they're into. So if they're really into rock music and they want to play guitar solos and this kind of thing, and you bring them home a nylon string guitar, I guarantee you their expectations of what it was going to be to learn guitar are going to be absolutely shattered from the beginning, and their interest is going to drop significantly right from the start. So make sure you get that instrument that's going to kind of line up with their musical interests, and you'll be much better off that way. So just to kind of go through the guitars again real quick, the nylon string guitar is primarily used for classical guitar. It's also known as the classical guitar. It's also used for flamenco music as well, but by and large, this is a classical guitar. If you're not learning classical guitar primarily as your focus on guitar, there's no reason to buy this guitar. I wouldn't do it. The next type of guitar is the steel string. This is a very versatile guitar. It's used in all types of music except for classical and flamenco guitars. So, rock, pop, country, folk, whatever you name it, this guitar is used for it. However, this guitar is generally used as a accompaniment instrument. So it's kind of more strumming chords, creating a texture, So the more like solo, like Jimi Hendrix, these type of, artists where you have these big guitar solos, that's going to be the electric guitar, but you also get the rhythmic side of playing too. So in my opinion, this is the most versatile guitar. You're going to get the most sounds out of it. You need to plug this into an amplifier for it to be enjoyable to play. It makes sound without an amplifier, but it's a pretty dull sound. So you gotta get an amplifier along with it. But there's so many different ways you can change the sound of this instrument through effects pedals, amps, and these things, that it's really the most fun for a new student to play, in my opinion. The third thing we're going to talk about, actually before we go on to the third thing, I wanted to mention too that think about what the focus of the school that you have your student enrolled in. What are their recitals like? For example, at Musicians Mobile, we have a rock band show that we do every year, and for the most part, we require the student to use an electric guitar for this concert. If the student does not have their own electric guitar, they generally have to borrow one from a teacher. This guitar could be too big, they're not used to playing it, it's going to shake their confidence. So you might want to consider that in your purchase, and I would again recommend the electric guitar, if that's the type of performances that your school puts on. The next thing we're going to talk about now is number 3. The size of the guitar you buy is very, very, very important for a new student, and we're pretty much talking about kids here, under maybe the age of 13, before they've hit their growth spurt. I'm going to give you 2 things to look out for, super critical things that you want to look out for when you buy a guitar for a younger student. The first and probably most important thing is the length of the neck. So before we talked about the width of the neck, now we're talking about from the head to the body. If this is too long for the student, it's going to make it really, really tough on them, and actually could potentially injure them over time. So one thing that we want to do when we play instruments is we want to be nice and relaxed. When I pick my hand up to reach the end of the guitar here, I want to be able to do that with my elbow staying close to my body, so I'm not reaching away from my body. If the student has to do this to grab the end of their guitar, which a little kid would have to do on a guitar this size, it's going to engage muscles from the back of their shoulder all the way down their arm, into their forearm, into their wrist, and it's going to cause a lot of discomfort initially in playing the guitar. So we need to make sure that they can reach the end of the guitar with their arm close to their body, nice and relaxed. I'm going to grab another guitar to demonstrate the other important size factor. So this is if you have an acoustic guitar. We still have to make sure that the neck length is appropriate, but then there's another factor in this, and that's this sticks out more on an acoustic guitar, and this part of the guitar is generally a lot bigger than it would be on an electric guitar. This is kind of a scaled down, it's a small, kind of like a parlor acoustic guitar, so it's a pretty small guitar. But you could probably see here that my arm has already been pushed up by it this way. So if it's too big and my arm is like this, then I'm reaching over the guitar. This is not good either. We want to be able to comfortably reach the sound hole of the guitar right here, this hole here, so that way we can get a nice warm sound out of our guitar. We don't want to get it too warm. I get a dull sound up here. We don't want the student to kind of get forced over this part of the guitar and start playing over the fretboard, because that's just bad habit. We don't want to start with bad habits. So yeah, the girth of the back end of the guitar here. Acoustic guitars come in a variety of sizes. This is, I would consider, like a concert shaped guitar. So those generally have a smaller area around this side. I would stay away from the dreadnoughts. Those are bigger on the back end. So it's just something to consider there if you go with the acoustic guitar. But definitely make sure that the student is not doing this to reach the end of the guitar neck. The next thing we're going to talk about is weight. So it kind of has to go along with, goes along with the size a little bit, but actually it doesn't really go along with the size at all. The weight is primarily in the body of the guitar. So we're talking more about something that's solid. These are called hollow body. You know, they don't have, it's a shell, right? The electric guitars are solid. Besides, they have little cutouts for the electronics and stuff in them, but for the most part, they're solid. So they can be heavy. So you want to make sure. There are some electric guitars that aren't that heavy, and there are some that are very heavy. It probably has to do with the type of wood and the kind of the girth of the wood, the thickness of the wood. So just make sure you can pick up the guitar and it doesn't feel like it's 20 pounds. We don't want the kid standing up with a strap on, having it hunker down on their shoulder. Again, you don't want to cause any kind of neck or stress on our shoulder more than we have to. So just watch out for that too. The next thing we're going to talk about, number 5, is the cost of the guitar. So you can find guitars in a very, very wide range of prices. From anywhere from probably like $100 up to, I don't know, like the price of a Lexus. So I would in my opinion, when you have a new student, just buy them something on the lower end, that just in case they don't take to the instrument, so that way you didn't spend $1,000 on something that's never going to be used again. So just something to consider. And then the next thing, number 6, is, should I buy a new guitar or a used guitar? I would go with the new guitar personally. Again, you want to make sure the guitar is right for the student, so you're gonna have a lot more options if you buy a new guitar. Used guitar, you might be able to find something for a cheaper price that's nicer, but you're gonna be limited on your options. If you can find something new that's perfect, and then you can find a used version of that, then by all means go for it. But generally speaking, I would stick with the new guitar. The last thing, number 7, is how does the guitar look? Now, this isn't going to affect the playability of it or the sound of it, but we really want to make sure, again, that the student really enjoys the instrument that we get for them. They want to pick it up, they want to play it. So looks are going to be a major factor here. We want the student to feel cool when they pick up their guitar and play it. You can think about it as like your favorite jacket or your favorite hat or your favorite sunglasses. It's basically an accessory that you're putting on your body when you play it. So if you feel cool when you play it, if it looks cool, I mean, if your kid really likes the look of the electric guitar, this is like a Telecaster, get them a Telecaster. If their favorite guitar player is Ed Sheeran, then you might want to get them an acoustic guitar, and then they can suffer through the beginning stages of it being uncomfortable. And a lot of guitar players do start on acoustic guitars. So yeah, we just want to make sure that the student really enjoys their guitar. It's comfortable for them to play. They're not reaching out for things. This will really go a long ways in keeping the student on the instrument and enjoying playing. So those are my 7 things to consider when buying your first guitar. I hope you got something out of this video and it helps you pick out your first guitar, and have a great day.